Mark said, my name is Jake. I was, in fact, a pastor for 21 years before I started doing this. And what this is a spiritual formation practice called Plumline. And sometimes I'm asked, how did you go from being a pastor and church planner for 21 years to kind of sitting in smaller groups of people, high touch, that kind of a thing? And the answer is Plumline was birthed out of my own existential pain, facing my own intolerable deficiencies. And as a pastor, it was kind of my job, or at least it was the expectation, that I would teach everybody how to live their life. Like, here's how you walk with Jesus in a healthy way. Here's how you unleash stuff like the fruit of the Holy Spirit, love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. And I got a couple of decades into all of that, and I'm looking in the mirror going, I don't really have this stuff. Like, not in any kind of consistent way, like maybe in a fleeting way, like circumstantial way. If things are going good, then yeah, I feel good. I got peace, But the moment there's tension, it's difficult, there's conflict in the relationship, it's like, I feel anxious a lot. Patience, you should have seen me put my kids to bed. Like, not a lot of patience, Kindness, gentleness, not sure how many people would have described me like that. Energy, drive, probably would be more the disclaimers that I would get. And it all came to a head one evening when I was putting my daughter down to bed. And she was about 4 years old at the time. And I was very devoted as a husband, as a dad. Like, I don't care how long my day was. I don't care what kind of season we were in. I would find the energy to put that little girl on my shoulders, walk her up those stairs, read that bedtime story, turn out that light, lie with her till she fell asleep every night, just like drive, commitment, devotion, I would have called it, right? This particular night, we just finished the bedtime story. I had clicked off the light. I was lying with her until she fell asleep. And her little voice emerges from the darkness, and she says, "Hey, Dad, if I could line up all the dads in the world." And I thought, this is my moment. It's all come down to this. And I'm feeling for my phone to see if I can hit record because I want to capture the moment. And I'm glad I didn't find the record button because it was not a great moment. She said, if I could line up all the dads in the world and I could pick a nice dad or you, I just want you to know I'd still pick you. I was like, I should probably give her a chance to backpedal out of that. So I said, "Oh, honey, is Daddy not very nice?" And she didn't backpedal at all. She said, "Not really, but I'd still pick you." And genuinely, 4, there's not a passive-aggressive bone in her body at 4. I genuinely think she was trying to express how much she loved me with a truth bomb wrapped around it that, if I'm honest, she may have been the only person in the world that could have given it to me without me becoming defensive, or even dismissive, like that's your opinion or something, or I'm sorry you feel that way, that kind of stuff. But I could not resist the sentiments or move past the sentiments of my own little girl. And so I left her room that night going, what is wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me? And my problem was that I was operating in the world like these European missionaries from the late 1800s I had heard about. They were stationed in Africa. They were given a commission to get supplies across the country they were in, and to do so they hired these African villagers, paid them well, cast the vision. They had a certain amount of time that they had to get all these supplies across to the place where they were going. And so the day arrives and they set out, and it goes horrible. They make it half the distance that they were supposed to make day one. And they kind of sat around the campfire that night. They calculated up, if we keep this pace, we're going to be weeks off of course. The supplies aren't going to get there. Some of them are going to be ruined. We've got to re-strategize. So they came up with this new plan, and they talked about getting up earlier and staying up later and pushing even more aggressively through obstacles and incentivizing the villagers even more. And they got up the next morning and they executed the plan, and it worked. Not only were they able to cover the distance they intended to make it, they were even able to make up some of the ground that they lost on day one. The next couple of days, it continued the same. But then they hit day 4. And they got up and they roused the villagers and they said, we got to get going. We're doing well. And they couldn't get them to move. And so the lead missionary kind of took this assessment. He's like, all right, no one seems particularly sick. No one seems particularly injured. So he pulled the spokesman for the villagers aside and he inquired of him. Like, we're paying you well. We're incentivizing you. We've got this goal and this vision that we've got to achieve. Why won't you move? And the spokesman for the villagers simply said this: we have traveled too far, too fast. We must now wait here for our souls to catch up to our bodies. Now, I don't know if you know what it feels like to work so hard or to move in your life so fast or to focus so maniacally on whatever it is that you're focused on that parts of you just kind of get lost or go missing along the way. But that's where I was. It wasn't that I didn't care about the kingdom or what I was doing, the church. I cared deeply. It wasn't that I wasn't devoted. I was deeply devoted as a husband and as a father. I just didn't have all of me to bring to all of that. And the result, however successful, however much praise, however beneficial the ministry was, the result was harm. Harm to myself, harm to those I worked with, harm to those who reported to me, harm to those I reported to. And so perhaps like me, some of you in this room know what that feels like. And if you do, you are not alone. Leader Care did a study. It's very recent, less than a year old. And this study revealed that 93% of Christian leaders across industry, these aren't just church staffers or pastors or something. These are Christian leaders across all industries, including your industry. Under the age of 40, say they are not flourishing. 93% under the age of 40 say they are not flourishing. 83% of Christian leaders over 40 say they have no idea what the next phase of their leadership looks like. And 7 out of 10 Christian leaders in industry, 7 out of 10 Christian leaders across industries will not finish well. What does that mean? Affair, embezzlement, burnout, flame out, abuse their power. 7 out of 10 Christian leaders across industry. How can this be? We have the answer. We tell everybody. We know the way. We know how to know Jesus, no peace. How can this be? And I'm here tonight to tell you what I believe is going on. Certainly what was going on for me. And it's this. Whomever you are, whatever you've been called to do, God has designed you with 4 critical parts that make you up. I call these 4 critical parts your spiritual anatomy. Jesus spoke about these 4 critical parts. Matthew 22, Mark 12, and Luke 10. All 3 of those passages, he was asked, what is the greatest commandment? In other words, what is the heart of it all? What is the essence of life? And in all 3 cases, Jesus responded, this one's from Mark 12, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, there's 1, with all your soul, there's 2, with all your mind, there's 3, and with all your strength, there's 4. And then he talks about the relationships that you're supposed to show up fully expressing these 4 critical parts within, God, others, and self. The second is love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Or in Matthew 22, something even more profound. All the law and all the commandments hang on that. Do you have any idea how massive of a statement that is from the lips of Jesus? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about. Any theology, any philosophy that doesn't lead back to loving God, others, and yourself with all of you, those 4 parts of you, isn't good theology, isn't good philosophy, and has no business telling you how to run your life. Here we see the 4 essential systems that make up your spiritual anatomy. You have a heart, you have a soul, you have a mind, and you have strength. And what it means to be a fully formed disciple of Jesus, what it means to show up to your work and your art and the relationships that matter most in your life from a place of empowered fullness is to have each one of these critical parts attached, because in worst case scenarios, they can be detached, and then nourished, because they can be connected but not real healthy, and then lastly, accessible, which means you can get to them and they can do what they do in your life and other people can access them and you can bring them to others, right? This is what it means to be a mature man or woman of substance. This is where you draw the God-given resources that you need if you are going to experience peace and vision and rest and connection and godly achievement. Now, if you're missing some of these, like I was and can maybe even say am, not maybe, am, or if a couple of these parts are left in an underdeveloped or malnourished state, you're still you, but you are living as a fragmented, out of sync version of yourself. So like if that's you, we get snippets of you, like we see glimpses of you, but you're not all of you. And that's called suffering. All the existential stuff bumping on inside of you is a result of that, being out of sync or fragmented from yourself. Now, there are nasty symptoms that emerge when you're detached like that, out of sync with those four parts. I'll name a few. These are study, research-based things. Identity issues that can express as insecurity or arrogance. Control issues that manifest physically in your body as anxiety, rage. It's the last-ditch effort to control things. That's all rage is. And doubt. Or it shows up as jealousy, envy, codependence, depression, burnout, toxic thinking, and toxic ways of relating with yourself and with others, and the list goes on. So here's what I'd like to do, with permission. I'm going to briefly talk through each one of these critical parts of your spiritual anatomy. We'll define them. I'll talk about why they matter so much in your life. I'll give you a quick look at what they look like if they're in a detached or an unhealthy or an underdeveloped state. And then in the end, I'm going to actually have you draw a picture. There's some paper and some pens on your table, should be. Draw a picture of what the current state of your spiritual anatomy looks like based on your artistic prowess. I'll show you how I drew mine earlier today to get ready for this as an example. Okay. Good? Okay, here we go. First, let's start with mind. Okay, the mind part of you has to do with your thinking and your learning and also your judging. Judging ain't a bad thing, folks. That's what we do. You got to make judgments all the time. The question is, are you making good judgments? Okay, so I love what Adam Grant says. He's a professor at Stanford. He's also an organizational psychologist. He says that intelligence has to do with thinking and learning, but wisdom is the quality of your judgments. That's good. I felt like I didn't get the credit it deserved. That's good. You should write that down. Intelligence has to do with your ability to think and learn. Wisdom is the quality of your judgments, and you make many judgments every day. Okay? That's what healthy mind is. Now, the reason this part of you matters so much is it brings structure and stability to life. Okay? So you learn and you have a thinking process and judgments around money, for example. And you decide, let's have some good thinking around money. We should probably save a little. We should probably invest some. It's good to be generous. We should probably dedicate some that we give away. We should spend some. It's good to have lights and water and those types of things. We need a vehicle, okay? And so you do some good thinking around this and you plug it all into something called a budget, a plan. And that tells you where the money goes. Now, if you don't have that structure that comes from all of that thinking and learning and judging in your life, life is chaos. You turn the water on one day and nothing comes out. And it's like, oh man, what happened? Oh yeah, I bought everybody's dinner last night and there's no structure or good thinking or judgments or plan around your money, so you have no structure or stability when it comes to your money. Does it make sense? That's true of everything in life. So the mind part of you is critical because it brings structure and stability. It creates a foundation for you to stand on and live from. Okay? Now, if the mind is left in an unhealthy, detached, or malnourished state, it slips into what the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, just get heady for just a second, okay, then we'll be right back, calls the bipolar shadow state. I love how spooky that even sounds. And that's represented down there on the bottom. You can see the pole. The bipolar shadow state has an active pole. So how does the immature, detached part of me manifest or express when it's actively expressing? But then it's got a passive pole. How does the detached, malnourished part of me show up when it's in more of a passive state? The active detached or immature mind shows up like a tyrant. So I take all my thinking, all my learning, all my judging, and guess what? I'm the smartest guy in the room. I'm not interested in what you think. I'm not interested in your opinion. No, you can't give me feedback. When I say jump, you say how high. Okay? Anybody ever worked for one of those? Anybody ever been one of those? Yeah. But on the opposite side, you've got the abdicator. That's the passive, immature, or detached mind. And the abdicator is somebody who's got all this thinking and learning and maybe even a responsibility to judge because they're in a leadership role, or they're a parent, or they're a spouse, or there's something like that, a neighbor. But they refuse to take responsibility that's theirs. So they roll over on their responsibilities. They roll over on the responsibility that comes from education, from what you know, from what you see, from what you understand. And they abdicate their responsibility. Now, they might call it delegation, but it's not. It's abdication because they didn't do anything to equip you to do the thing that they gave you to do. They didn't walk it with you. They didn't support you. They didn't help you troubleshoot along the way. They just didn't want it on their plate. So they pushed it off of their plate onto yours, and when it fails or when it doesn't go well, they just point at you and they blame you. That's not delegation, that's abdication. And that's how the immature, passive mind shows up. Okay? We all do both if we're in an unhealthy state when it comes to mind, right? But the healthy mind is willing to be responsible, willing to keep learning, willing to keep growing, willing to make judgments, willing to live with the consequences. Okay? Evaluate, change, tweak things, etc. All right, that's the mind. Let's look at the strength. I think that's the one I got up there next. Yes, okay. Strength represents your doing, your creating, and your working. The strength is that part of you that rolls up its sleeves and puts its hands on things. It's what ultimately has to take what happens in the mind, the strategy, the plan, the understanding, and it's got to execute it. We actually go and do something. We actually go and create. Okay? We actually go and we live it out. So there's all kinds of strength verses all over the scripture. James chapter 2, verse 18, for example. Show me your faith without works. I'll show you my faith by my works. That is a strength verse. Okay? Let's get out there and do something. The reason this part of you matters so much is because it's what's going to establish independence, mastery, and contribution. Okay? It's the strength part of you that ensures you're not sitting on a curb with your hand out going, I can't take care of myself, so I need somebody else to take care of me. It's the strength part of you that kind of starts to become curious about what your natural skills and abilities are, and you're going to start practicing them, and you're going to hone them, and you're probably going to bring them to a place where you can monetize them. And that's good because now you can pay your light bill. Now you can put gas in your car, okay? Independence, you can bring your skill sets and your gifts to a point of world class, mastery, and you can advance good in the world. You can actually contribute to the family unit, to the church community that you're a part of, to the neighborhood that you live in, to your city, okay? So this is a critical part of your spiritual makeup. Now, if this part slips into that bipolar shadow state, your immature strength is going to actively show up as a sadist, okay? That's somebody who's going, oh, I got strength, I got skills. You want me to take that hill? I can take it, and I will use anybody I need to use to do it. And they've got a trail of broken and bleeding people. I will build my thing on your back, and I will discard you when I'm done with you. Welcome to immature active strength, okay? Or the passive immature strength shows up as the masochist. That means I let myself be used. You want to build your thing on my back? I'll let you. I'll let you see my skills, see my talent. I'll let you use me, make me feel guilty when I ask for a vacation. Never give me the credit that I deserve. Take it for yourself. And I just roll over and I just go, okay, and then I let you discard me when you're done with me. Okay? It's nasty. But the healthy strength is like, I got world-class gifts. I got world-class deficiencies. And I'm willing to bring my gifts to align, to accomplish, to achieve. And I'm not going to let you use me. But as long as my vision and the vision of this place aligns, I'm all in and I'll pull the rope. That's healthy strength. Okay. Let's talk through the heart. Okay. This is probably the most neglected aspect of your spiritual makeup because of the culture that we live in. This is a very deprioritized, kind of dismissed second. People love to quote the prophet Jeremiah to me. Heart is deceitful above all else, beyond cure. Who can understand it? Like, why are you leading those heart groups, man? Why are you helping people? I'm like, that's not the only thing the Bible says about the heart. Proverbs 4, guard your heart, watch over it with all diligence. Why? Where does it lead you? Life. From it flow the springs of life. By the way, that Jeremiah passage, like, back up the camera. It's talking about people who have rejected God, whose hearts are deceitful above all else and are beyond cure. Why? They've rejected the cure. So we need to read the whole thing. But your heart part of you is your feeling, your needing, and your connecting. Okay? This is the relationship part of you. You will not have the ability to be in deeply connected, healthy, lasting relationships if you've got a detached, immature, or malnourished heart. That's why this part of you matters so much. And we're taught to lop this thing off and bury it from the time we're young. Okay? If you were having big feelings as a kid, you were probably sent to your room, and you're not allowed to come out until what? When can you come out? Yeah, calm down. Basically till you stop having feelings. Yeah, have a reasonable conversation. Get your head around the message that you were perhaps, the unintended message perhaps that you were given as a kid. What's going to qualify you to be in the family? Like, what's the prerequisite for you to be in the relationship? You can't be having feelings. So go deal with them on your own and then come back to me. Very harmful. Take 60% more glucose to your brain. Fuel. Take 60% more brain fuel to your brain to talk yourself off the ledge than it does to turn to somebody. Your very biology doesn't even back up, the way we were raised. We need each other. The immature, disconnected heart is going to show up actively as an addict. Anybody here know what the opposite of addiction is? Connection. Intimacy. Addiction is anything I choose over you. Because you're too much. You're hard. And so I choose my addiction over you. You hear this idea of recovery? Like, what are we recovering? Like, what are we getting back? Getting back what my addiction cost me, what I lost. Relationship with you. So this is a critical part of your makeup. The healthy heart knows what's going on inside of it. Like, I was standing in the back there going, man, this is a scary room for me. I'm scared I'm going to get up there and, like, what, did somebody gather up all the sexiest people in Nashville and, like, just say we're all going to meet at Harbor and Union? I'm sitting back there going, what am I doing? Like, I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling shame back there. Like, felt shame when you introduced me, Mark. I'm going, who are you talking about? Like, I don't know if I belong up there, and, feel lonely a little bit. You guys don't know me. I don't really know you, And I got all this stuff going on, and guess what? You know why I can stand up here and talk to you? I got me. Like, I know what's going on inside of me, and what's going on inside of me is nobody's responsibility in this room. His responsibility, my fear, my shame, and my loneliness. Like, it's none of your job to fix my fear, my shame, my loneliness. You know whose job that is? It's my job. You know why? Because I'm a grown-ass man. Can you cuss in here? Okay. Favorite thing about not being a pastor anymore. Mark can't do that. He's got to. Yeah. Even, like, My feelings and needs are not my wife's responsibility. It's my responsibility. Her feelings and needs are not my responsibility. She's a grown-ass woman. Okay? Healthy relationship consists of two people going, I'm willing to know what's going on inside of me and take responsibility for it, and then I can bring myself to you. So a whole person times a whole person makes a whole relationship. If you're hanging the responsibility of your feelings and needs onto another person, that's got a name too. It's called codependency. I can't be okay unless you're okay. I can't be okay unless you do for me what I can't do for myself. Now I want to say, none of this applies to children. I had a lady come up to me at some point going, like, she heard me speak at one point. She like ran into me in a restaurant or something. She's like, I'm so glad I heard you talk. I told my son, like, your needs are not my responsibility. Your feelings are not my responsibility. I need some me time. I was like, how old's your son? She's like, he's 9. I'm like, yeah, his feelings and needs are your responsibility. he's a little boy. It's like, when he's 35, you can tell him that. But like right now, he's on you. Healthy heart, I know what I feel. I'm willing to take responsibility for the needs that are connected to those feelings. And what I do to me, I do to you. That's why the relationship thing is important. If I'm dismissing my own feelings and needs, like telling myself to suck it up, be more reasonable, something like, that's what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to tell you to suck it up. I'm going to tell you to get over it. I'm going to tell you to be more reasonable. But if I'm going, oh man, I got stuff going, like, what is that? And I go, I got some fear. I got some shame. I got some loneliness. I care about that. What's that about for me? Like, oh, it's probably attached to my story somewhere. All right, what do I need? All right, I can take care of that. I got people I can call after this. I can take care of that. Okay, I got me. And that's what the healthy heart does. And when you can do that, you stop looking for yourself through other people's eyes. Like, I'd go to coffee with you a few years ago, and I'd leave and not even see you. I didn't even see you. I was looking for me. I was like, what are you, like, you impressed? You think I'm talented? You think I'm funny? You think I'm smart? Is it working? How do I need to adjust what I'm saying and doing or not saying and not doing to get you to see me the way I want you to see me? And then I'd either leave feeling like a piece of crap, or I'd leave feeling on top of the world because I perceived I either did it or didn't do it based on what I read in your eyes, and I never saw you. It's all about me. Okay? So you got to get you so you can see me. People tell me all the time, it's funny. They're like, oh, Smith, man, you meet with Smith. He's like, he's looking into your soul. Don't make eye contact with Smith. He'll look into your soul. I'm like going, I can just see you. I'm not looking into your soul. Like, I can just see you. Like, eye contact doesn't bother me anymore because I'm no longer afraid of what you're going to see when you look into my eyes. You know what I'm doing when I look into your eyes? I'm looking for what I see when I look at you. And for some reason, that freaks people out. They're like, I'm so uncomfortable right now. So I see it all the time. But healthy heart, you get you. Stop making them responsible for you. It's a very powerful way to live. So I'm telling you right now, men and women with their hearts are the most powerful people in the room. Okay. Spent longer on that one than I intended to. Let's go to the last one. Soul. The soul part of you is critical. It's the largest part of you. It's the most primal part of you at some level. This has to do with your being, your dreaming, and your envisioning. Okay, so you hear the little cutesy cliche all the time. We're not human doings, we're human beings, and no one knows what that means. So, okay, great. What do you want to do with that? But being is your ability to be out of your head and out of your feelings and in your body through your senses. Like, what happens when you sit in the silence for 5 minutes and choose to ignore your thoughts and feelings? Like, what's left? What's there? That's your being. Okay? I was working with a guy, and I'm going to be very covert here. I'll just leave it at that. I was working with a guy, and he's very smart, and he's very in his head all the time. And he came to a session one day, and he's like, all right, I booked a trip to Yosemite. He's going through some really hard stuff. He's like, I booked a trip to Yosemite. I'm just going to go out there and just, I'm just going to be. I was like, you open to some feedback on that? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I got a lot of fear about you going out to Yosemite by yourself. He's like, really? I thought you were going to be proud of me. And I was like, I think you're just going to go out there and think in a different place. Like, you're just going to go spin in your head in a more beautiful place and get waterboarded by your feelings in a more beautiful place. And his eyes were getting bigger and bigger, and he's like, what do I do? And I said, when you come to a mountain stream, take off your shoes, take off your socks, roll up your pants, and stand in it. Just stand in it. Feel that water flowing over your feet and in between your toes, and then open your eyes and watch where the light hits, and watch what the breeze blows, and drink in deeply those wild flowers, and feel what you feel on your skin. Bring 100% of your concentration to those things and feel what it feels like to be alive. Jesus taught us this all the time. He would say things like, consider the birds of the air. And as Westerners, intellects, we want to go, well, what are we supposed to learn from the birds of the air? What are the 5 points that we should jot down from the birds of the air? You know? And we miss. Like, get a camp chair and go watch birds. Or the most famous passage in all of the scripture. You might be able to guess what it is. It's the most Google search for. It's the most read in public gatherings. The 23rd Psalm. Pastors, Mark, we geek out on the 23rd Psalm. It's just so like historical, images, and like prepare a meal in the presence of my enemies and the tools of the shepherd. And like there's all this stuff that we just like. It's fun. And if we're not careful, we miss the whole point of the 23rd Psalm, which is He restores my soul. How's He going to restore my soul? How's that happen, operationally speaking? He leads me beside the still waters. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. And lay in a field. Watch the clouds. Sit by the water and watch how it shimmers. This restores your soul. So your being, and then from your being flows your dreams and your visions. Now this part of you matters so much because it is where your identity and your purpose is going to flow from. If you've got a detached or a smashed or a punctured soul, you're going to have a real hard time knowing who you are and what your life's about. You got to get this part aired up, okay? Because when it slips into the bipolar shadow state, actively, it's a con artist. And if you think about that long enough, it'll make a lot of sense. Because if you don't know who you are and what your life's about, you're just going to settle for getting the sale. If you don't know who you are and what your life's about, you'll just build an empire. What else are you going to do? You'll just accrue assets. You'll just advance your own name. Like, what else are you going to do if you don't know who you are and what your life's about and how it fits into this bigger thing that God's doing in the world that's way bigger than your life? You'll become a con artist. Or passively, this is one of my favorite words. I even like how it sounds on my lips, feels on my lips. Faux naïf, which just means innocent dummy. Okay, it's like, you know these people. Like, they pretend like they don't see what they see. They act like they don't know what they know. They're like, what? What? You know? Faux naive. Okay. Okay. If you are willing, I would like you to use whatever scraps or pens you find. I want you to draw the current state of your spiritual anatomy. This is a healthy one. Like, you notice how plump all those circles are? They're interconnected. Like, this is Jesus' spiritual anatomy or something, okay? I want to show you how I drew mine earlier today, just as an example. This is how I drew my spiritual anatomy. It looks nothing like the previous, plump little picture. So look at my strength, how dominant it is. It's wielding a sword, which is scary because he has no idea how to use that thing. He can use it maybe for some good, but he also lops off heads with it, accidentally, of course. He's also wearing a propeller beanie and some underoos because my strength is large and you see it, but it's also immature. It's trampling on my heart, which is what's happened kind of my whole life, okay? So it's been crushed by my strength and by the strength of others. My mind is off in the clouds, and it's the smallest part of me by far. Like, I got no time for a planning meeting. Let's just go do something, I got no time for a spreadsheet. Just, you read the spreadsheet. Just let me know what I need to know. So my mind's small. It's off in the clouds. And my soul is like a tornado, and it just jerks me everywhere. Like, I'll have a dream and a vision this week, and I'm like, oh, this is what my life's about. This is what the company is supposed to do. And then next week, I'm like, well, I got this new dream over here, and we're supposed to go over here. And I frustrate the heck out of mind people, especially because they're going, can we finish the thing you were dreaming about last week before you move on to the thing you're dreaming about this week? So my soul is just like a tornado. It just jerks me everywhere, okay, and everybody else around me. So this is how I drew mine. How would you draw yours? Just take 2 or 3 minutes. This is fast. So you don't got time to be super pristine with this. I drew this in like 1 minute. Okay. Sorry for leaving you with such little time to get into the good stuff, but I need to wrap this here. On the screen is a QR code to a free spiritual and relational health assessment. For those who have the courage to actually figure out how you're doing underneath the surface of your skin, free assessment. Be honest if you decide to do it. It will email you your report to your inbox as soon as you take it, okay? And if you want help talking through it, we've even got people on the team that can help you interpret it. Like, here's what this is saying, here's what this means. Okay, I'm going to finish with this prayer and this blessing over you. Here it is. In John 10:10, Jesus says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it to the full. Here's the blessing. May you open yourself to the intention of Jesus for you. May you open all the fullness of your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength to him. And as you do, may you experience the life that is truly life. Amen.